at the stack of papers on his desk, awaiting his attention. "Oh, I do," Eliza said passionately. It wasn't the money. Knightley's wages were fair, but not extravagant. There was something about being a writing girl, the true friendship, the thrill of pushing the boundaries of what a woman could do in this day and age, the love of chasing a great story, and the pleasure of writing, excruciating as it occasionally could be. She made a living by her own wits, dignity intact, and she was beholden to no one. She would not give that up lightly. "Figure something out," Knightley told her. "Become his mistress, bribe his staff, or better yet, disguise yourself as one of the housemaids. I care not. But get this damn story." Knightley didn't need to say, "or else," or bandy about idle threats to make his point. The truth was there, clear as day. This was her last chance to write something great, or there would only be 3 writing girls. Thus, she was now here, on the docks along with a mob of Londoners, vying to see this long-lost pirate duke. All manner of curiosities were hauled off the ship. Exotic creatures, exquisite blossoms and plants, dozens of battered crates with words like danger or fragile or incendiary branded on the boards. Interesting to be sure, but nothing compared to the man himself. Everything about him would cause a scandal. Then she saw him. His dark hair was unfashionably long, brushing his shoulders and pulled back in a queue, save for some windswept strands that whipped around his sharply slanting cheeks. His skin was still sun-browned, a tantalizing patch exposed at the nape of his neck, which a gentleman would have covered, begged one to wonder how much of his skin had been exposed to the sultry tropical sun. Had he stripped down to his breeches, baring his chest, or had the lot of his clothing been deemed too restrictive and discarded? He wore no cravat at his neck. Instead, buttons were left undone on his linen shirt, offering a glimpse of the bare skin of his chest. His grey jacket was worn, carelessly opened, as if he did not even notice the drizzling rain. When he moved, one might catch a glimpse of a sword hanging at his side. One would be wise to assume he carried a knife in his boot or a pistol in his coat pocket. The story, the story, the story. Even on this damp afternoon, Eliza felt like her nerves were smouldering, sparked by equal parts excitement and fear. It was the feeling she always had at the start of a mission, but this time there was something else. Something that left her breathless. Something that made her feel the heat all over, even in this cool, wet weather. Something that made it awfully difficult to breathe for a second. Something that made it impossible to wrench her gaze away from the man, the Duke, the story. 2 men garbed in dark rough coats next to her in the crowd began a conversation that Eliza freely eavesdropped on as she kept her gaze fixed upon her quarry. She leaned in, the better to listen to their gruff voices. "I heard that his household is looking to hire, but chits aren't exactly lining up for the job. I know I told my sister under no circumstances was she to take a job there, Duke's household or not." "Eh? Why is that?" This man's posture and tone said he thought it stupid to refuse a job, particularly from a duke. "Everyone knows the wicked Wycliffes like to tup their housemaids and then send 'em packing when they're with child," the other said authoritatively. She wondered where he'd heard gossip like that. Probably from the London Weekly. "More than usual," the man said, thus pointing out that this was hardly unusual behaviour. "Aye, they're legendary for it. They don't call 'em the wicked Wycliffes for nothing. And this one particularly. Look at him. Would you want your sister or your missus working under the same roof as him?" In unison, the 3 fixed their attention on the Duke. He boldly paced the ship's deck with determined strides, coat thrown open to the elements and white shirt now wet and plastered across his wide, flat chest and abdomen. Heat infused Eliza's cheeks and elsewhere. The Duke paused to converse with a rough-looking man with one arm in a sling and one eye covered by a black patch, the very definition of disreputable company. The Duke turned to give an order to the crew as they carried off precious cargo. Eliza knew that he was not captain of the ship, But Lud, if he didn't act like he was the